Thanks for that, but let's address the Bajaj Finserv numbers because they looked very good. The net profits have gone up 40% for the company at 441 crores, while the total income has gone up by about 35% coming in at 2,224 crores. Sanjiv Bajaj, the MD of Bajaj Finserv, joins us now to talk about that. Sanjiv, hi, good evening. Can you just take us through the performance this quarter and which are the segments that have done well?
Good evening. As you've just mentioned, our consolidated PAT is up 40% to 441 crores. Now, Bajaj Finance continues to deliver very strong results. We've seen total income go up 37% to 1,701 crore, while PAT for Bajaj Finance went up 42% to 279 crore. This is their highest ever PAT, so record results from Bajaj Finance. The life insurance company has seen a lower top line. Our GWP fell from 1,401 crore to 1,172 crore, but shareholders' profit after tax has more than doubled from 103 crore to 216 crores. Now, of this, roughly 60 crores or so is the transfer of profit from policyholders to shareholders' accounts, which we used to do till last year, only end of the year. This year, as we've been saying from first quarter, we are doing it every quarter. So even if you adjust for that, we have a growth in the bottom line for the life insurance company. The general insurance company has seen a rather flat quarter. Our gross premiums were up just 2% to 1,500 crore, whereas profit after tax was actually marginally down from 145 crore to 141 crore. The main reason for this, because if you've seen, the general insurance business has consistently grown at 10-12% quarter on quarter, but in the second quarter this year, a large part of the agricultural insurance business was taken away through very aggressive pricing by government insurance companies. So we wrote roughly about 130 crore of lower agricultural insurance Q2 on Q2, and as a result, we lost out on the commission, reinsurance commission there. So if I were to compare, for example, our claims ratio in Q2 is actually lower than the previous year. It's at 72.9% versus 75.3%, but the combined ratio is higher. So we've lost out over there. Once again, of course, as we say, these would still be the best numbers in the industry, but compared to how the general insurance was performing earlier, the performance was not great in this quarter too. So effectively, it's Bajaj Finance and the life insurance company's profits which have helped us on a consolidated basis take profits up by 40%.
Sanjiv, hi, good afternoon. So for Bajaj Finance, your gross NPA has stabilized after last quarter's spike. But going forward, do you think it can go back to the lower levels that used to exist, say, 2 or 3 quarters back?
So, when I compare whether from the Q2 of this year, Anuj, where from 55 bips it's come down to 46, or even from Q2 of last year from 48 it's come down to 46, there is, as we can see, a marginal decline. We also have done some accelerated provisioning in this quarter. So if it weren't for that, this 46 bips would have been an even lower number. So yes, it looks right now that this number could further go down a little bit. But as we've always said, it depends on the mix of business we write between our high return but the relatively riskier consumer loans and the SME and commercial loans, which are lower in return relatively but also lower risk. So it would really depend on the mix of these quarter on quarter.
Before I run out of time, I wanted to ask you about the fact that the IRDA has issued the final guidelines on FDI and insurance firms. What has the reaction of your own foreign partner been?
The guidelines were issued some time back, and since then, as of yesterday, IRDA has issued a clarification guideline on what control means. Yes. And that is what a lot of foreign players naturally were concerned about, because they wanted clarity. If they're going to, and this of course applies not only if you're bringing in additional money to take your stake up, but it also applies for existing companies, even if they make no change. So it was important to get this clarity, because otherwise you go and talk to different people, you get different answers. But since it is on paper now, I think it makes it very clear. As we know, the requirement of Indian ownership and control is in the Act itself. So IRDA has only clarified that and explained what it would mean. And I think the clarification is very clear. It is very fair and in line with the Act. So this will make matters, my sense is, much easier to resolve whether it is for our own partner or for any other JV as well.
Sure, there is clarity now, but some shareholder agreements had given the foreign investor a veto power on many policy decisions, even though their holding was restricted to 26%. But this has now been completely done away with. Will that in any way be viewed as a negative?
To those foreign partners who had such rights, naturally, they've lost those rights. But the point is they've not lost those rights after the IRDA clarification. They've lost those rights when the Act got passed. So there are benefits that they've gained as well. For example, they've gained the right to go up to 49%. Okay. So there are pros and cons, but what's important is that there's clarity over it, and based on that, partners have to decide. So to the point that you want, if somebody wants to be in India, they have no choice but to follow those guidelines. That is very clear.
All right, we've run out of time, Sanjiv, but thank you for your comments and all the best for the quarters to come. That's a strong quarter that Bajaj Finserv has outlined, but of course, in their general insurance business, the growth has not been too much. In fact, it's hardly been about 2 to 5%. But as we wrap up on this edition of Closing Bell, let's take a look at how our participants have fared on day 2 of Bullseye. After the bell, we'll take all the action forward.